We, the jury, find George Zimmerman not guilty.
But again, this has been a very peaceful march.
I'm here today to announce that the program known as DACA that was effectuated under the Obama administration is being rescinded.
Out of that protest by Colin Kaepernick, 49ers quarterback knelt instead of standing during the national anthem at last night.
Hey, what's up everybody? So after taking a class about racial politics around the United States, I decided to make a video blog about all the things I learned. Additionally, I've decided to do some research on my high school's area and see how it fares up with some of the politics today. I won't be evaluating all aspects of my high school regarding the issues that will be brought up, but I'll tie it in if it fits. The topics that will be discussed will be sports, immigration, the politics of hair and skin, criminal justice, and I'll conclude it with how my school is doing in regard to the education. In the description below, I have timestamps for each segment, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks. To start off, my high school is Centennial High School in Gresham, Oregon. As of the 2016-2017 school year, we have a minority student population that reaches 54% of the student body, and about 75% of the students in our district are on free or reduced lunches. There was a solid mixture of income levels around my area, but for the most part, it was students who came from low to middle income families. We'll start with the first issue. Let's talk about sports and politics. Sports and politics have been linked together for a long time. This segment will probably be the longest because sports were big in my school. There's been arguments over whether an athlete should get involved in the problems going around society or not. The best example of this just recently happened.
This is what happens when you attempt to leave high school a year early to join the NBA. And it's always unwise to seek political advice from someone who gets paid $100 million a year to bounce a ball. You're great players, but no one voted for you. Millions elected Trump to be their coach. So keep the political commentary to yourself, or as someone once said, shut up and dribble. We'll be right back.
This, of course, will end up leading me to Colin Kaepernick. Now with this, I fully support the message that Colin was trying to make as well as the protest. I mean, he made it clear from the get-go on why he kneeled, but regardless of this, millions of Americans found a way to make the issues he raised seem non-existent or minuscule. Issues like police brutality and oppression of people of color. Colin Kaepernick wasn't even the first person to protest the Star Spangled Banner. In 1996, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, formerly known as Chris Jackson, also protested against the national anthem for the same reasons. Because of this, like Colin, Mahmoud was blackballed from the league and received many death threats. When I was a kid, adults, parents, and teachers alike would tell me that athletes, celebrities, or whoever had a big enough platform should speak about injustices around the world so that the mass can be made aware, and we can work towards fixing it. But that's just what Colin and Mahmoud did, and they were shunned. They failed to land another spot on a team in their respective leagues for standing up for what was right, which goes to show the importance of money in our society. Standing up for what is right isn't worth losing views or fans to the sports leagues. The NBA and the NFL aren't the only sports organizations to have involved politics. The NCAA is probably one of the most messed up organizations and has been criticized for the inability to accommodate student athletes. In the article Shame of College Sports by Taylor Branch, the NCAA creates a new plantation mentality. Majority of the athletes in the NCAA are people of color who have to put their bodies at risk without being compensated, while the NCAA generates billions of dollars off of them. Not to mention the fact that according to the National College Players Associations, 86% of college athletes live below the poverty line. The schedule of an athlete is no joke either. Sam Markham, a student who graduated from Centennial in 2017, is now a basketball player at Coe College, and he spoke to me about his schedule.
So pretty much talking about my schedule and how busy it is as a student athlete in college, I'm going to break it down into seasons: fall, winter, spring, summer. And me being a basketball player, our season is in the winter, but in the fall we have workouts to go along with whatever else we have planned with school and any other things. Some people have internships and stuff like that. Me personally, I didn't have any internships. I went to the fall practices, open gyms and workouts and stuff like that. Practices meaning workouts because we're not actually in season, like skill workouts with our coaches, and then lifting and conditioning with our athletic training staff. And then classes. In the NCAA, you have to be a full-time student on track to graduate in 4 years to be participating in any athletics. There's probably some loopholes for certain situations with different people, but the typical NCAA athlete has to be a full-time student, as I was. Tuesdays and Fridays at 5 a.m. and then one weekend session. The time varied, but you can count on them being 2 hours at least, and it's pretty draining. And then skill workouts and stuff like that with coaches in like basketball court twice a week, and those you kind of just had to be on your toes for that, because it wasn't really scheduled very well. Our coach would call on us, and you have to schedule around that. You don't just be like, no, I don't want to today, I can't today. You have to be on your toes, and it makes like studying, scheduling very hectic. Of course, coaches know that school is more important, unless, I don't know, some people are going to the NBA or NFL or something, I'm sure, but coaches do know that school comes first, and studying and schoolwork, you have to put that first. But going into the winter, our seasons began. We got one off day per week, so there's only one day we didn't have practice or a game. And that ended up being on Tuesdays or Sundays typically. And it wasn't enough time off for the academic side of things, because it was just really hard to juggle doing hours of studying or homework or a project or whatever, along with having to go to practice 2 to 3 hours a day, and then sometimes having film before practice and then lifting after, and it stretches out to be 4.5, 5 hours. It's really draining, and especially after a day of full classes, it just made it really tough. And then especially, also road trips really made a big deal in your studies and stuff like that, and some people have to work on top of it. I don't see how that's very possible for some people unless they have extremely flexible work schedule in this case. But yeah, pretty much the schedule was really hectic during season because practice could go very long. There's not much downtime and not enough time to balance work or schoolwork. So it really felt like I was working a full-time job for like 65 hours a week. Like, I had no downtime. I had to stay up late to do schoolwork and really didn't get a lot of sleep. And then in the spring, it was a lot similar to the fall right now. And I'm out of season. I just work a job to make ends meet and stuff like that, part-time. So you can slap on like 15 to 20 hours of work on top of basketball and school schedule. That's what most people, I assume, do, unless they have a full ride, everything paid for. Well, even if you do have that, there's still living expenses, which is, it varies from person to person, but common sense, you can't just go to college on a full ride and have no money on you whatsoever. It constantly interfered with practice. I'd miss the first half of my work study shift because of practice going late, and my coach and my boss both got mad at me because I'd have to be in two places at once, but I always put basketball first. It's a pretty tough schedule, nonetheless, being a student athlete.
So, as all of you heard, the schedule of a student athlete is hectic, and we have students like Sam within universities and colleges around the country who are tiring themselves not just physically, but mentally as well, all for free. And while the idea of watching it seems kind of messed up now, I'm not going to try and tell you that if you do watch them, you're feeding into the issues. And I can't even lie, even I enjoy watching all of these sports and leagues, but just don't forget that the kids are playing for free in the NCAA, and they're being exploited, and the professionals in the leagues are having their voices and appearances placed lower just because of their jobs. An example that happened in my school is through Donald Trump and Pussygate.
Grab him by the...
A few athletes at Centennial decided that they would take a picture of themselves wearing a shirt that said "Wild Feminist" and in order to combat Trump's claim that it was locker room talk. This ended up going viral around the country, and CNN even made a segment on it. Adults all over the country began to leave comments on the video stating that these men were not men simply over their choice to not support this locker room banter.
So a lot of like the freshmen are like, whoa, you guys, like, I can't believe you guys are doing this. I don't know what would be wrong with us trying to tell others that women deserve the same rights as men and they shouldn't be treated differently.
And that about concludes this segment of the video. And up next, we're going to be talking about immigration within the United States. Immigration is one of the biggest reforms that President Trump spoke on when he ran for president. It was also what helped to propel him to his victory, as it helped create a scapegoat for low-income white Americans. Data from the Center for Immigration Studies estimate about 43.7 million immigrants, both legal and illegal, residing in the United States as of July 2016. When Obama was president, he implemented the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA. DACA was an executive order that allowed children who entered the states illegally protection from deportation. This, along with the DREAM Act, if passed in legislation, would have given those kids a chance at citizenship. However, when President Trump came into office, he and his administration decided to remove DACA, and the DREAM Act still has not passed. The concern with this is that students under DACA have given out their personal information and are now at risk of deportation once their deferment is expired. Minorities are generally the ones who are in question when it comes to citizenship status. And in media, Hispanics have been the main target when discussing this topic. Since majority of the immigrants come from Spanish-speaking countries, especially Mexico, Trump has made them all off as criminals instead of hardworking people trying to create better lives for their families.
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. It's coming from more than Mexico. It's coming from all over South and Latin America, and it's coming probably from the Middle East.
Since DACA was implemented, the Center for American Progress has noted that the economy has seen a large boost from it, and the deportation of the young workers could cost America upwards of $400 billion. According to a book by Marissa Abrahano and Zoltan Hajnal called White Backlash, when white Americans discuss immigrants, regardless of whether it is documented or undocumented, they tend to forge the concept of immigration with the Latino population. As mentioned earlier, the Centennial School District has a minority population that is 54% of their total student body. Of that amount, 40% are students who don't speak English as their first language. At Centennial High School, Latinos make up about 25% of the total population of the school, according to their student count in the 2016-2017 school year, and the Hispanic community faced backlash in media as they are automatically associated when the topic of illegal immigration comes up. In my own experiences, I've had friends who were not citizens of the country and could not gain many of the benefits of being a U.S. citizen. No matter how hard they had worked, in employment or in school, it didn't matter, because the culture of the U.S. did not welcome them in. Jorge, for example, who was my roommate last year, graduated in 2014 and could not maximize his fullest potential as he could not afford to attend a four-year university like he had wanted. Along with Jorge, I also asked my friend Gonzalo, who graduated the same year I did and was actually the salutatorian of our class, on how he believes his status as an undocumented student in America affected him during our senior year. He is currently attending Willamette University, and what he responded was, "As much as I am grateful to be in college right now, I'm also angry because I know of so many undocumented folks who can only ever dream of going to college." These are the folks who don't fit the dreamer narrative. The ones who aren't straight A students, the ones who aren't, quote, good immigrants. My undocumented status has limited my access to college, especially when it has come to finding the resources to pay for it. As an undocumented student, I cannot receive any federal financial aid, which means that I have to pay out of pocket. I go to a private liberal arts college, so they were able to cover the majority of my expenses. But even then, I ended up paying around $5,000 my first year. I'm grateful that I have a family that could help me pay for school because I know I wouldn't be able to do it on my own. All these situations help to show that the narrative that media and the Trump administration portray immigrants as is not true, all the while hoping to shed a little light on the difficulties and restrictions that we as a country give to young students of color. This is a good transition to the next topic of the effects of skin and hair in American culture. It should be no surprise that America has not been kind to people of color throughout history. Regardless of ethnic, if you do not look European white, you are more likely to be at risk of being discriminated against, as well as the victim of multiple microaggressions. Being darker skinned has also been linked to unattractiveness, and it can affect colored people and their chances of success. This was mentioned in Margaret Hunter's 2007 journal article, The Persistent Problem of Colorism, Skin Tone, Status, and Inequality, in which she notes a 2003 research done by social science researchers that found that Latinos who identified as white earned about $5,000 more per year than Latinos who identified as black, and about $2,500 more per year than Latinos who identified as some other race. Hairstyle is another factor that can affect a person's success. Esther Berry wrote a book called The Zombie Commodity, and she states that in Western culture, long thick hair is what is desired, and because of this, white women have been placed higher than black women in the beauty hierarchy. As African Americans' hair type has historically been deemed unsightly, with descriptions of nappy, kinky, woolly, or unkempt. If a person's natural hair does not meet the social standards of beauty, they will be hit with unfair assumptions about their character. This creates a toll on the mental health of a person, because if a person is being told they aren't beautiful, how can we expect them to be confident in reaching their dreams when their self-esteem is being put down by societal norms? Furthermore, Adam Alter of NYU also conducted research and discovered that people had perceptions on someone just because of the color of their skin, and I quote, regardless of race, dark skin was associated with evil in the minds of people who saw a link between darkness and badness. Gresham also has one of the most diverse cities in Oregon, ranking 7th according to Home Snacks, a website that gathers data from around the web to help determine a wide array of factors about where you live, like safety, desirability, and culture. This, combined with Adam Alter's research, could explain why Gresham is ranked also 7th in crime rates among Oregon cities. Along with this, another journal article by Joe Sauce and Vesla Weaver made the claim that people in places coded as black or brown come to signify criminality. Criminal stigma becomes a wellspring of racial stigma that envelopes individuals regardless of their actual transgressions or adherence to rules, while whiteness denotes civility, law-abidingness, and trustworthiness. In the same article, they also revealed in a study that survey interviewers are more likely to perceive criminals as black when they hear of an arrest experience. Despite all this, the students living in the Portland-Gresham area that attend Centennial boast an 82.9% graduation rate, which is 8.1% higher than the average of Oregon schools, and is almost reaching the national average of 84.1% in 2016. On top of that, they have been nationally ranked by U.S. News as one of the best high schools in the country. And with that, I'll be ending this video, and though I probably could have gone more in depth with some of the topics, I got burnt out during research. So thanks again for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed it.